People often tell me success takes years, it takes decades. And yes, that's true. But let me ask you, can 1 week change your life? Most of you will say no, but I will tell you, 1 week can change your direction. And when your direction changes, your whole life changes. I am not here to give you a magic formula. I am here to share 5 small habits, simple, ordinary habits, that transformed my energy, my focus, and my mindset in just 7 days. Because success is not about doing extraordinary things once. It is about doing simple things consistently and doing them with the right mindset. When most people wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is grab their phone. They check messages, scroll social media, or dive straight into other people's lives before even stepping into their own. That's how I used to start my mornings too. Reactive, distracted, and already behind before the day had even begun. But when I made one simple shift, starting my day with clarity, everything changed, and I noticed results in less than a week. Here's what I did. Instead of letting the world set my tone, I set it myself. The moment I woke up, I took a few minutes just to be still, breathe deeply, and ask myself one question: what do I want out of today? That single question forced me to focus on purpose instead of noise. I began writing down 3 simple priorities every morning. No long lists, no overwhelming schedules, just 3 things that truly mattered. And that clarity gave me direction. When you don't start your day with clarity, you drift. You waste time on things that feel urgent but aren't important. You get pulled into distractions, pulled into other people's agendas, and by nightfall you wonder why you feel exhausted but not fulfilled. But when you start with clarity, you move with intention. Suddenly, the small choices throughout the day become easier, because you know exactly where your energy should go. This habit did more than just organize my day. It reshaped my mindset. Waking up with clarity gave me confidence. It reminded me that I was in control, not my circumstances, not my notifications, not the opinions of others. It's like drawing a map before you take the journey. The road may twist and turn, but at least you know where you're headed. And here's the best part: clarity compounds. The more I practiced it, the stronger it got. Instead of living in reaction, I was living in creation. Instead of being busy, I was being productive. Instead of drifting through the week, I was driving it. Starting the day with clarity is more than a habit. It's a decision to take ownership of your life every single morning. Because when you win the morning, you win the day. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. That's the lesson I learned when I made discipline a daily habit, and in just 1 week the results were undeniable. Before, I used to wait until I felt like it. Felt like working out, felt like studying, felt like chasing my goals. The problem was, feelings come and go. Some days the energy is high, but most days it's not. And when you build your life around motivation alone, you only move forward in short bursts, never consistently. So I made a shift. Instead of waiting for motivation, I built routines that forced me to show up, no matter how I felt. I set alarms, blocked time for deep work, and committed to finishing the tasks I wrote down every morning. At first, it wasn't exciting. Honestly, some days it was boring. But that's the secret. Discipline doesn't need to feel exciting. It needs to be consistent. And once I leaned into that, my days started to stack up with real progress. Here's the power of discipline. It removes negotiation. When the alarm rings, you don't argue with yourself. When it's time to work, you don't scroll, you don't delay, you don't wait for the right mood. You do the thing, because that's what disciplined people do. And once I stopped negotiating with myself, I found I had so much more energy left for actually doing the work instead of fighting with excuses. In just a week, this habit taught me something life-changing. Discipline builds confidence. Every time I kept a promise to myself, I felt stronger. Every time I finished a task, even a small one, I proved to myself that I could be trusted. That trust built momentum. Suddenly, I wasn't depending on bursts of motivation. I was relying on systems, routines, and habits that carried me forward no matter what. Discipline also gave me freedom. That might sound strange, but it's true. When you live without discipline, you're controlled by impulses, by distractions, by moods. But when you live with discipline, you control your time, your choices, and your results. That week I realized that freedom isn't doing whatever you feel like. It's doing what matters most, consistently. And once you embrace that, discipline stops feeling like a burden. It becomes the greatest tool you have. Because motivation can start the journey, but only discipline will take you to the finish line. The mind is the command center of your entire life. Whatever you feed it, it will multiply. Before I changed my habits, I didn't realize how much junk I was feeding my mind every single day. Scrolling through endless posts, consuming negativity, drowning in distractions. It felt harmless, but it was shaping the way I thought, the way I acted, and even the way I believed in myself. Then I made a decision. For 1 week, I would replace empty consumption with intentional growth. And that single choice shifted my entire perspective. Instead of grabbing my phone first thing in the morning, I picked up a book. Instead of blasting music just to pass the time, I listened to podcasts from people who had already achieved the things I wanted. Instead of gossip or negativity, I sought out conversations that challenged me, stretched me, and reminded me to think bigger. By the third day, I could already feel a difference. Not just in my thoughts, but in my energy. Here's the truth: your mind is like software. If you keep installing the wrong programs, you can't expect it to run smoothly. A poor mindset consumes entertainment to escape reality. A rich mindset consumes knowledge to create a better reality. That week showed me how small daily inputs create massive changes in output. The more I fed my mind with wisdom, the more ideas I had, the more solutions I saw, and the more motivated I felt to act. And it wasn't about hours and hours of study. Sometimes it was just 20 minutes of reading or listening to something uplifting during a walk. Small shifts, but repeated daily, and the compounding effect was powerful. Instead of my mind being cluttered with noise, it became focused, sharp, and inspired. This habit also taught me something: deeper growth is a choice. Every day, you're either feeding your mind junk food or soul food. One leaves you stagnant, the other moves you forward. And in just 1 week, I realized that what I feed my mind determines how far I go in life. Because the content you consume today becomes the mindset you live with tomorrow. The body and the mind are connected in ways most people underestimate. Before I changed this habit, I treated my body like an afterthought. Long hours sitting, little movement, eating whatever was convenient. I told myself I was too busy to exercise, not realizing that neglecting my body was actually stealing my energy, my focus, and my confidence. Then, for just 1 week, I made a commitment. I would move every single day. It didn't have to be extreme. Sometimes it was a workout, sometimes a run, sometimes just a long walk, but no matter what, I moved. And the results were immediate. By day 2, I felt the difference. My mornings had more energy, my afternoons had more focus, and my evenings carried less stress. Movement wasn't just physical, it was mental fuel. Exercise became a reset button that cleared my mind, burned away anxiety, and replaced it with sharpness and calm. I realized something powerful: when you move your body, you move your state. And winners understand that managing energy is just as important as managing time. This habit also built discipline in ways I didn't expect. There were mornings I didn't want to get up, evenings I felt tired, moments when excuses sounded louder than my commitment. But every time I pushed through, I wasn't just training my muscles. I was training my willpower. I was proving to myself that my excuses don't control me, I control me. And that small win carried into everything else I did that day. Confidence was another gift this habit gave me. Not because of how I looked, but because of how I felt. When you take care of your body, you walk taller, you speak clearer, and you carry yourself differently. People notice that shift, but more importantly, you notice it. You trust yourself more, you believe in yourself more, because you know you are honoring your body instead of neglecting it. And here's the part that surprised me most: moving my body daily unlocked more gratitude. Every step, every breath, every stretch reminded me of the gift of health, a gift too many people take for granted. That gratitude kept me humble and fueled me even more. In just 1 week, I learned that movement is not optional. It's essential. It's not about having time, it's about making time. Because when you take care of your body takes care of your mind. Every day we are faced with 2 choices: do what feels good now, or do what will matter later. For most of my life, I leaned toward the first option. I'd eat what I craved instead of what fueled me, scroll on my phone instead of working on my goals, and spend money on things that gave me a quick hit of happiness. but left me empty tomorrow. That's the trap of short-term comfort. It feels good in the moment, but it steals your future. Then I made a decision for 1 week I would flip the script. I would choose long-term wins over short-term comfort. And it changed everything. It wasn't easy at first. The temptation to take the easy path was always there. But every time I said no to comfort, I was actually saying yes to my future self. When I chose to study instead of scroll, I was investing in my growth. When I chose to save instead of spend, I was building security. When I chose to wake up early instead of sleep in, I was giving myself more time to create. Each decision was small, but together they created a shift in how I saw myself. This habit taught me that success is not built on one giant leap. It's built on hundreds of tiny decisions made daily. Comfort whispers, "You deserve a break." Vision whispers back, "You deserve better." And when you side with vision often enough, you start to notice something powerful. Your willpower gets stronger. The same temptation that once controlled you loses its grip because your focus is now on the bigger picture. By the end of the week, I noticed my confidence had grown. Not because I achieved massive results in 7 days, but because I knew I was finally living in alignment with the person I wanted to become. That feeling, knowing you're making decisions your future self will thank you for, is one of the most powerful motivators in life. Choosing long-term wins over short-term comfort is not just about sacrifice, it's about transformation. It's about realizing that every no today creates a better yes tomorrow. And that's how winners live, with patience, with vision, and with the courage to wait for something greater. Because the comfort you give up today becomes the strength you stand on tomorrow. At the end of the day, when the noise fades and the world slows down, the most powerful thing you can do is take a moment to reflect. Before this habit, my nights looked just like most people's, falling asleep to a screen, carrying stress from the day, or lying awake thinking about everything that went wrong. I never gave myself space to process, to appreciate, or to reset. Then I made one simple change every night. Before closing my eyes, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for and 1 lesson I learned that day. And in just a week, my nights and my mornings felt completely different. Gratitude shifted my focus. Instead of obsessing over what I didn't have, I ended the day reminding myself of what I already did. Some nights it was big wins. Other nights it was something simple like a good meal or a kind word from a friend. But the act of noticing turned ordinary moments into treasures. And when you end your day with gratitude, you start your next one with perspective. Reflection added another layer. I began asking myself, what worked today? What didn't? What can I do better tomorrow? That simple question turned every day into a lesson. Suddenly, mistakes weren't failures, they were feedback. Successes weren't accidents, they were patterns I could repeat. Reflection gave me wisdom, and gratitude gave me peace. This habit also improved my sleep in ways I didn't expect. Instead of my mind racing with unfinished thoughts, I went to bed lighter, calmer, and more focused. It felt like closing the book on the day instead of carrying it with me into the next. And the next morning, I woke up clearer, more motivated, and ready to move forward. Here's what I realized: gratitude keeps your heart grounded, and reflection keeps your mind sharp. Together, they give you balance. One reminds you of how far you've come, the other shows you how far you can still go. And when practiced consistently, even for just a week, this simple nightly ritual can shift the way you see your entire life. Because when you end the day with gratitude and reflection, you begin the next one with clarity and purpose.